So one of the perks, of course, of getting your vaccine. I also just wanted to mention that the Lake County Department of Public Health is doing their mass vaccination event today. They have about 50 vaccines still left, but they have about 400 folks who have signed up, which is fantastic. So that's happening at the college. There'll be another one April 7th. So please visit either the Office of Emergency Management website or the Lake County Department of Public Health and Environment website to sign up and get your vaccine if you have not. The governor has lifted all restrictions as of Friday. And so anybody who is over 18 can get the Moderna vaccine. Anybody who is over 16 can get the Pfizer vaccine, which is at the Safeway. So good news for all of us in Colorado. Okay, speaking of which, Colorado numbers, we have plateaued. So our daily counts of COVID infections are the same. We're not worse, but we're not much better, which is unfortunate for us. But keeping in mind that it is still much higher than it was during our summer surge and the surge in the spring. So our numbers are still relatively high. Of course, nothing compared to where we were over the holidays, but we have plateaued. Our positivity rate has also plateaued. It's about 4%. And if you look at the total number of tests that are being done, there is a downtrend of that. So less folks are getting tested, which it tells us that people are not as interested in the quarantine process anymore. So it is important to remember that if you have been exposed, you quarantine, you wait until day 5, 6, or 7, come get your test, and then if you're negative, then you can be released from quarantine on day 8. If you are sick at any time, please come get tested. That's the only way we're going to be able to contain these outbreaks. The good news for Lake County is we're no longer darkly colored. Yay! So our incident rate has decreased, and we are less than 50 folks per 100,000. Adjusted, of course, if there were 100,000 people that lived here in Lake County. Hospitalization rates, oops, that's the wrong slide. Hospitalization rates are better. They are headed down as well. The plateau continues, and the plateau is about what it was over our summer surge. What's interesting now is that the folks who are becoming infected are young folks because they have yet to be vaccinated. So they're less likely to get very sick. They're less likely to be hospitalized, and of course, they're less likely to die. However, they're still getting infected. So the key here again, vaccination. So please, everyone, come and get vaccinated.
Oh yeah.
Deaths in Colorado are on the downslide. And again, even though more people are getting infected, the folks that are getting infected are younger and healthier.
Yeah.
I included this slide for the first time. This is vaccinations in Colorado. I thought that was interesting. Purple is Pfizer, pink is Moderna, Janssen is green. And you can see, since we started vaccinating folks in December, how many vaccinations that we're giving per day. And you can see here now recently, the vaccines are about 50,000 vaccines in Colorado per day. That's a lot of vaccine. That's great. We are really doing our part in getting our folks vaccinated. So, we should obviously keep it up and everyone sign up to get their vaccine. Lake County data, we have also plateaued. There are, again, you can see little tiny blips here where there are no infections on certain days, but we still are seeing, a number of infections per week. Our positivity rate, again, looks a lot like Colorado's. Our curve is not as flat as it could be. So again, making sure that we're still, even though we're being vaccinated, if you are in groups of people that are not vaccinated, you have to wear your mask, still stay, 6 feet from them. It's important to remember that you don't really know who's vaccinated. And so when you're at the grocery store, when you're, at school events, you just need to keep your mask on until we can get at least 70% of our folks vaccinated here in Colorado. Hospitalizations, none, which is good news for us as well. Our positivity rate, if you look, we did just 213 tests over the past 2 weeks between Rocky Mountain Family Practice and St. Vincent Health. 23 of them came back positive. So our positivity rate, unfortunately, continues to stay at about 10%. The state, as you remember, was about 2.9% a couple weeks ago, and now it is about 4%. So not the best of all directions to be in. Our vaccine data, again, we are rock stars. We have given almost 4,000 vaccines, and today's event certainly will put us well over the top. If we did that guess, and I talked about, how I made this number up last week, but my calculations are about that we have to give 12,000 vaccines here in Lake County for the 6,000 eligible folks who are here, 32% of the way there. So we're doing great, and I project, if I do the math correctly, that hopefully by the beginning of May, anybody who wants a vaccine will have had one. The governor's goal is in Colorado that everyone by the end of May will have one, and that's what Mr. Biden has suggested as well, but we'll be about 4 weeks ahead of the game as long as we can continue at this same pace. Unfortunately, our one death remains. Are there questions for me? All right, so please make sure that you're checking out our websites, that you are signing up for your COVID vaccine, and then you can be in small group settings without your masks with fully vaccinated folks too.
All righty then. Hey, thank you, Dr. Lisa, once again for the update.
Absolutely. We'll see y'all next week.
You bet.